Sound's not working in there.
I like to call this education. I like to call this education committee meeting to order. We are approximately 4 minutes past time because some people decide to socialize. Give you an opportunity to look over your education committee minutes. If I could get a motion in a second once you get that opportunity.
Hey, it's
Second.
Be nice.
I am. I'm Scrooge. Scrooging.
Oh, move.
Did I get a who made the motion?
The motion.
Yeah, Jonna had a second.
And I got a second.
Or Lauren second, whoever.
Whatever.
Okay. All those in favor of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Pose same like sign. Thank you. This time I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Director of Finance. I don't even know what your title is. That's bad, I'm sorry. Let me look, everybody's got a title. Mr. Michael Smith, how about that?
Did everybody get a handout that wanted one? I got a couple extra.
What is it, Mike? Is it that?
Yes. Yeah. Everybody get one that wanted one.
Mr. John took care of it.
That's crazy.
Plateau needs one.
No, Director of Finance and Business.
So only one item needs voted on. That's a budget amendment. I'm gonna go over it first. I know it's stapled out of order, but sorry. It'll be budget amendment 2022-06. And if you'll flip to this page, looks like that right there. This budget amendment, we got some, we're moving our McKinney-Vento funds up to the central office level, and we got some additional McKinney-Vento funds, and so that's me budgeting the revenue and the expenses. So we're not requesting any new funds there. And then the second part of that budget amendment, we give money to all of our high schools for graduation, but this year we put VLP under BTA, under our alternative school, and they need some money for their graduation as well. So we've given them a little bit less than the large high schools, but that's us giving them something for those VLP students and alternative students to graduate. But that's it. We're not requesting any new funds, just booking additional revenue and additional expenditures.
So that's $3,000 for the graduation?
Correct. We give the 5 large high schools $5,000, and so trying to give them something because they're renting, I think, the Expo Center, I think is correct, but I may be wrong on that, but I think that's
Okay.
it.
Motion to approve.
Wait a minute, so this is for the building rentals, basically to rent the buildings that they're gonna graduate in, correct?
Yeah, and they'll pay for any other costs associated with that. I mean, generally it'll cost more than that, but from a central office standpoint, we try to kick in something for the high schools.
Okay, I think I have a motion. Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any further questions?
And then, so there's 2 other things in your packet, and I guess me and Mr. Luttrell kind of tag team that. So the first one is a 5-year capital outlay plan. The board tasked us with coming up with what are our needs for the district capital-wise. And so we've really tried to pare this down. Some people put a lot of wish list items, and so we tried to pare this down to essentially what we feel that we would need. And just looking at this page down here, if you'll notice at the bottom, we have projected student enrollment based on approved housing units. That's where we've pulled proposed student housing units. We've met with the planning department, and that's where we estimate so many kids per housing units or per building permits pulled. And so that's how we're getting those numbers. We do feel that those are conservative numbers based on the growth, but that's what we went with at this time. I'll let Mr. Luttrell speak to kind of why we put some things in certain places on here.
Okay, and before I do that, please note these numbers are just estimates. You cannot sit here, especially in today's climate, with supply issues and material issues. These are estimates. You will not have final numbers until you decide to bid those projects. But we've worked with where we think it could land as of today. The year 1 plan we're including is right now, it's what we're working toward. And I'll give a little update. Summer Creek's elementary walls are coming out of the footers as of this last 48 hours. So that project is making really good progress. But in year 1, New West Wilson Middle School, and you have an estimate there, and I hope it holds true. We're keeping abreast of schools that are being built in Tennessee and talking to people about what's the square foot price. And it's going up every month. We know that. We still are hoping that we'll catch that. That's still in the planning phases. We're looking and working with our architect, going over plans and making some adjustments to try to bring that in where it needs to in our mind. But that would be year one. The Gladeville Elementary addition, if we decide to do that, and for that amount of money, we could add 250 kids a place without having to buy land or go through all that. And we would like to be able to start that pretty quickly because, well, especially in the spring, that would be possible because that would alleviate some of that growth, immediate growth we're seeing right there. Then we have land for North Central schools, and we just use North Central and Southwest. That don't mean anything. That's just where it's located. We're showing the need to purchase land there. We did go ahead and put an elementary in. That may be wishful thinking on our part, but we've got 2 elementary schools that are overcrowded, at over 100% capacity right now. And we know where some of this growth is taking place in these land units. It's in those areas. And then we included possibly land for the southwest part of the county because we've got data showing that that's the 2 hot spots. That's year one. Year two.
Oh, wait, before you go to year 2, this roofing outlay plan, that's already within something we've been allocating over the years, so.
Yeah, I'm going to cover that in a minute.
Okay, you went to
Cover
year
now
2.
just the capital
Yeah.
building. So, yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to talk about that in a second. We put in year 2, Lakeview and Mount Juliet renovations. Now, there's some things in Mount Juliet we're already going to start doing. We've got a couple projects we want to do that we need to go ahead. But when I'm talking renovations, that would include some doors, some just the renovations. And I will welcome you to go meet and walk through those buildings. Those are good buildings that we can get a lot more use out of them if we take care of them now. But if we put that off, we know what happens. And especially in the Lakeview, there's just a problem there where we've got a wing built on that was added, I don't know when it was, but it's probably the most recent wing. We have to cross the stage to even get to it. That's a problem. I mean, I can't, when I walked across there, you've got some ADA, some safety issues, and we could add a wing in there to correct that and get us a little more growth room right there on the property we already own. We've already talked and looked at what we could do to connect that back cafeteria with a wing and do something there to fix that. Mountain Juliet Middle proves to be one of our most valuable buildings, even as old as it is, because of the size of it. If we had not have had that building
Tornado.
with the tornado, I don't know what we would have done. So that building's still in good shape. We have put windows in it, but there's some other things we need. Plumbing. I mean, we're getting into, y'all know the age of that building. That stuff can be renovated now and taken care of, and prevent us from having to say in 10 years we got to have a new Mountain Juliet Middle. And then we did include Watertown Middle, and you see remodel and replacement. I keep looking for people to tell me what they want to do. And we'll have to decide. That building, parts of that building's 1934. There's some plumbing issues. There's some that just are. I mean, it's time to. Then the other part, there's part of it was in '82, the gym in that area. I prefer to keep that. I don't think it makes any sense to tear it all down. And you've got land there, so we could give our architects, bring us something, what can it look like on that property with a renovate, partial rebuild to take care of that school for a while. And we've got some ADA issues there. We just do. Still got kids going out of the building, down. To get out in a wheelchair situation, you got to go to the bottom floor and go out. It's not good. And we're getting more and more people move in there. These are needs that's a need. And we would need to talk about how we do that. Did put that in year 2. Year 3, nothing. You see, we have tried to strategically place this because you can bite off more than you can chew sometimes. And so that's a 2-year, year 3 with nothing, and And then the year 4, we go ahead and start that Southwest Elementary potentially. In year 5, you see us with high school potentially Golden Bear. And let me, a middle school on property we already own, if everything that is laid out, county holds, we see this. The concern I have is we know what the data's telling us. And 10 years ago, they would develop a piece of property and your build out was 5-6 years. We're seeing these national companies coming in. They're doing build outs on 400 house subdivision. Now it's 3 years. They've got them sold while they're building. So that concerns me a little bit. Now again, I want to stress, this is based on approved housing units and land lots as of now. That's not what's going through planning. That's not what you read in the newspaper. That's what we know is already on the books. And you see that number, I think it's a very conservative number. In year 5, we would be 22,176 students. And I think that's very conservative. I would not be surprised if 5 years from now we're sitting at 24,000. Because, and I'm basing that on, this past year we're up over 1,100 students. And I'm telling you, when I look this month, we've enrolled 200 new students since October the 18th. That is not usually the time you enroll students. You usually see it up to Labor Day, a little bit first of the year, and then you're good. And we just keep on every month. Talked to a principal this morning, he's had 12 in the last 2 weeks. And they're coming. So I know it's lofty, I know it's hefty. I assure you there is no fluff in this. We're willing to look. We got some ideas maybe on the Gladewell Elementary, if things hold where they are, that we can talk about in the spring. We get closer to budget. That if we could take that one, we'll do that to help you guys. Because we're at the point where these are needs. Understand on a 5-year plan though, and the growth we're experiencing, if you're planning much more than 14 months out, it's all it is, a plan. 2 subdivisions or developments and somewhere we're not even looking could change this whole plan. I want you to understand that. It's just how it is. But I do think this gives us a guide to go by.
I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
First, is there any insurance money left over to be able to pay for some of West Wilson Middle School, or? Yes?
Some.
Okay.
We're still,
Right.
we know that, and we're still working with
FEMA.
But
We just put the total cost. That doesn't mean that's what we would have to borrow or request. These are just
Okay.
the total
These are just
cost of the
total
projects.
Okay.
Let me point out, everything on here doesn't mean we're going to ask for funding. There's things on here we're going to cover.
Right.
that we anticipate covering. But there is money left over for insurance and through FEMA.
And these are
Okay.
estimated numbers as well.
Correct.
Right.
They're
So
not hard.
we went off an estimated square foot number that was similar to Stoner
Right.
Creek or similar to other middle schools or high schools in the area.
Okay. I'm clear on that. I was just curious if,
But yes, there is some money, and the
Okay.
FEMA money plays into that, but understand FEMA is reimbursement money. You've got to
Right.
spend it up front. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky. We're still working through them, and
We have
just,
a meeting next week with them, another meeting next week.
okay.
I want you to know this, we did not start our claim to what, July? When I took over, we didn't have a claim with them. And we had to go get permission to go back to them and say, wait a minute, we need help here. And they were kind enough to
Okay.
allow us to open up that claim. And he's working with them, and we've worked with FEMA, they're great, but it is a process.
Right.
And let me say so we opened another claim too on some of the temporary schools, the portables, on some, we ran a generator. They've closed some of those claims, but they apply the insurance proceeds to all those projects before they start reimbursing us for anything. So in their minds, we've already spent money on Stoner Creek, we've spent money on portables, on generators,
Right.
on some of that. So those all go towards that total.
Right.
so.
No, I knew all that. That's why I was trying to figure out if there was some additional that was left over, or if we were gonna have to try to figure out how to come up with the 60 million. So,
No, we've come back
whatever.
and talk in more
the estimate
detail.
is.
We
Okay,
just put
that's
total
fine.
cost of what we feel a best guess at this time on estimates.
That again just gives us a better idea as to kind of, especially for year one, what we're looking at within the next 10 months as we start the budget process over the winter. So, and I know in the federal infrastructure bill, there was discussion about 100 million, I think it was, or 100, I think that's what it was, for schools, but I think it's been cut. Is that correct, or do you know?
We have not heard. I did have a meeting, a Skype meeting, and some information from the Tennessee Department of Education, and all of our money will flow through them. So no matter what, our money, y'all's money will flow through separate. So as of right now, there is nothing there for us, and they haven't alluded that there's going to be.
Right, that's what, I think it was in there, and it was actually cut toward the end of the negotiations, but it was earmarked specifically for rebuilding school infrastructure from the federal government, and I think it was cut like the whole line. So, and then last question, with some of these new developments that are coming in, are there ways to negotiate with them or try to work with some of these developers about providing land or trying to figure out ways to, so if you've got a huge development, then, you know, if you carve out 10 acres, then you could put an elementary school in the development. Have we
tried
ever
that.
done that?
Excuse
That would
me,
really be
we
up to
tried that over-
the, that's a planning
We
department.
tried that
Right.
over 10 years ago, and the builders are they're not biting on it. So that's not gonna happen. We tried that about 10, 12 years ago, and they don't feel like they should have to allocate us anything.
That's what Mount Julie
They're
does.
bringing in
They-
taxes.
they do
Commissioner
offsite.
McFarland,
Okay,
No, but they do offsite programs.
thank you.
Something you said about the ADA and having to go across state, who designed that? I mean, was that architecturally designed, was that just?
Well, I'm sure it was, but understand the age of some of our buildings, some of the ADA did not.
wasn't in compliance.
Some of that was
it wasn't-
before
it
then.
wasn't before, and you were grandfathered in.
Sure.
But now, when you start having students with those needs, it's a problem.
So let me say the new addition there, the gym, does have a chair left up there. It's the old portion down there on the bottom, the old bombs, I guess it's an old bomb shelter style, that's where you have to go outside to come back up. But that was built before the ADA.
And you know, there's a lot of talk about there on that camp, how we handle it. You do have a gym. You've got an old gym that's a 30s model that I'll just tell you is
It's awesome.
they don't make them like that anymore.
They don't.
And we're still using part of that with our ag department. Some of that might possibly be to be renovated and done correctly. Because I think our school, of course, I'm a school person now, but I think the history of our schools and our community
Need to be preserved.
need to be preserved. I just believe that.
Did y'all do this or Cat Victor do this? Is that
We did.
We sit down and work it out.
We worked on it. I mean, we've got input from multiple people, not just Cats.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't no bottom.
They prepared the housing unit numbers with us, for us, and they helped us with some of that square footage estimates on some of the schools.
But we determined what our needs were.
Yeah, they had no input on the needs there. That was me calling going, hey, how many building permits have been pulled? Can you help me put that on a heat map? I don't have the software to put those on a map. They do, so.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Lebanon High School, how old was that? When was that built?
Jeez.
Which one? One over here? I see. One over here?
ATC?
The first graduating class.
Okay. Well, we renovated that for how much money?
14 million,
Right?
14 million.
Yeah, we appropriate 14 million, so the school kicked in.
They kicked in some of their own.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, the
Right.
high school was renovated for less than 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, but construction costs have doubled.
Oh, I
since
know
those
that. I'm
were-
not
yeah.
saying we can do it for that now. but
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying We did for less than 20 at the time, and that's a bigger school, I'm sure, than the one in Watertown that you're talking about.
Correct.
That one though has some elevation issues, is one of the reasons that makes that one more expensive, because you go from the bottom of the hill.
Wow.
When we were
Yeah.
looking at quotes or estimates, that was one of the big issues at the middle school when we were looking at
I'm just
renovations.
thinking that renovation may be the better way to go, that's all I'm saying. And I think you agree with that, right?
I think you gotta look at it.
Yeah.
I do.
What do you think in year one? You talking about 2022?
I'm talking 20, we're in year one, my eyes.
It's there.
2021, and we're getting ready to close it out. And some of these things are already
In progress.
Yes.
in the process. Now, you tell me, you've got the purse strings, you can say that's 22, 23.
Well,
But let me, I will say this, and I'm not trying to be, I know, we've got portables that we're getting ready to use due to the tornado.
right.
I don't like them, but these are nice portables, 2 to 6 wall. I'm telling everybody, if we can't figure this out, there's gonna be a day I see in the near future where I'm moving them portables, extending the lease and putting them in schools. And that's just what we have to do, and I'm willing to do that.
What we need, may I?
Sure, go ahead.
What we need here is somebody from the finance department tell them how much dollars could be available when bond issues rolling off, if that money could be.
I talked to Aaron about that the other day, and he's supposed to be getting all that information for us.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's where
know,
we've got to start.
I know in the new Lebanon High School, we paid interest only on it for 4 years. And when we paid interest and principal, and I think we're still paying interest on Green Hill, are we not?
Aaron ain't in, where is Aaron?
We paying principal on it there too.
I have to look at your debt schedule, Aaron. I don't.
Well, that's what we'd like to have, I would.
Yeah, I talked to Aaron about that, and he's gonna get that for us.
And this is really just for us to get the conversation started and kind of express our needs, where we think we're at, as we go into. We wanted to get it out before budget season because there's nothing worse than us bringing this to you in May or June, and y'all say, "Well, we would have loved to have that conversation beforehand."
You
So,
also know this is 2022 election.
And we discussed that too.
yeah.
We already had that conversation.
And
We all do.
I understand something too, I promise you. If you don't have the money, you can't pay for it.
Right.
Get that, and then we'll have to back up and, but this would keep us, I think, on the trajectory we need to be on. I will fight for that as long as, but when you say, I'm not gonna pay for it, then okay, then I've gotta go figure out how to help this growth.
Nobody approves that.
I know that,
We all
but
go in there.
I'm not saying, we're not coming here demanding anything. We want to have a conversation, work with our funding body, and need as much of this we can.
And some of it, like I said, some of those lists we're going to take care of, I think, through our operating budget.
Now, Ms. Annette, we put in there our, if you remember back last year budget time, we made some agreements on some roofs.
Right.
We're going to let one bid out, and we're going to take care of it. Some of that's in there, but I just want to show you, because if we will take care of this, we won't be sitting here in a few years trying to back up, catch up 10 years on roofing.
Right, 'cause we had- I thought we had a roofing plan.
Buildings is your roof.
Then we had a roofing plan at one time, am I not correct? We had some kind of roofing plan where it was ongoing, I think, $1 million and something, give or take a year. So that's my question was gonna be, is this 3.2 a part of that?
It is.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay.
And we've already, like I said, we just put a bid out for a brand new roof at Mount Juliet Elementary. It'll be going on, plan is May or June, right after testing. So it'll be a brand new roof, 20, 30-year warranty on that.
On the new West Middle School, West Wilson, do you have the land for that already? On the first one, on year one, 60 million?
West Wilson, yeah.
That's the one- that's the-
Okay, you have money left for that. Okay, I got it. So when you come to us for some money,
It will not be
you'll
that.
come for the actual that you need?
Yes, correct.
Not what's listed?
Correct. And let me remind, Stoner Creek, we're building back bigger, and we plan, the old West Wilson was around 12 or 1,300. We plan to bump that to 1,500 as our goal to try to help some of this growth, so we're not stuck building a new middle school in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
We can push that off.
I think that was discussed.
We're trying to increase, yes. So the old one was 12 or 1,300, yes. And we're trying to increase this one to 1,500 core and capacity both. So, but that's a large middle school there.
Because I think, didn't you negotiate while they were there, that asked them to do a little more, a little extra or something? It was some conversation I had about that, while they were there building.
So we went ahead and got an extra on Stoner Creek. We increased that capacity by 200 or 250. It went from 750 to 800 to 1,000 capacity and core. And then the good thing about both of these schools will both have FEMA shelters in them. So water tanks, backup generators, the whole 9 yards for the FEMA shelters. So that, I think that's a
FEMA will
good,
kick in on that.
yeah. So we're working
To
with,
their specs.
yeah.
Mr. Stafford.
Okay, are there any further questions?
And just, Ms. Venata, go ahead.
On any of these proposed schools for future, are there any ideas, have you thought of any ideas of doing a campus like the Lebanon High School?
We're going,
We'll get into that with RFP.
Okay.
there is a,
So just so, me and Director Leffel met a week or so ago, went through this. We've already talked to Ashley McAnulty about what we can and can't do. So when we decide for sure what we need, then I'll have the information for you guys so you'll know what we can and can't do at that time.
That's also what Aaron told me about 2 days ago too, so.
Any more questions on this?
let me add to, there's a couple things you'll notice, there's some HVAC needs and some cooling towers. We're gonna try those cooling towers. You can notice they're at 3 of our older schools there. And one of those is at Mount Juliet Middle. That's one of the biggest issues we have there at Mount Juliet Middle is we had a teacher the other day who said, it's hot, it's cold in here. Well, they're on the end run of that water loop. So it's hard for me to fix that until we replace that cooling tower that's, as old as the school there. So we're going to try, that's an example of one of the things we're going to try to fix as part of our budget. But we wanted that on here because that's a major upgrade or ticket item. So.
True. Are there any further questions from anyone, from the committee? Any further questions from the committee? Any further questions for any other commissioners? All right, I need one more.
Next thing, you have RFP. You remember, we put that out, and it came in, we only had 2 pieces of property. The board rejected all of those because we wanted...
$5 fine, $5 fine, $5 fine.
We were contacted by some people who said, hey, I didn't know the RFP was out. So I made a recommendation to reject them both, open back up for another 30 days, see if we can get more people to participate. And we did. We have 7 pieces of property. You have them. They vary, and we put out an RFP that said, I think, from 20 acres to 150 acres, just to see what we could get. The board has decided and instructed me to do more. We'll work with our engineers and get an estimate on what it's going to cost to build on each property. Some of these have sewers, some of them don't. But my understanding, the work I've done, a lot of schools are going to a step system, especially if you have enough acres to take care of it. And you're not bringing sewer, and it's standalone. Everybody tells me that's kind of what's going on in a lot of places. I'm okay with that, and they don't have a sewer bill. So these lands can be developed. If you see that there's varying sizes, the one tract of land, double log cabin, 3 property owners put land together, and they came up with whatever that comes to. It's over
171 acres.
171 acres, got 2 access. It's on a country road. You're going to hear, I've already heard from community members, I get that, but it's a large piece of property. The next one on the end of Northern Road, it's 150 acres. It doesn't have water on it, if I remember correctly. The main's already there. These are all good pieces of property. Little bit, some questions about getting in and out. We've got to look at that and do a little more. It was a straight shot off 109, but it's not. You have one on Hickory Ridge, it's 89.77 acres. I think sewer's probably real close there. We've not got official on that. It's got 200 foot.
It's only got 200 feet of road frontage there, so that kind of limits certain things.
Then you have a tract of land northeast 109 Academy. Two parcels were put together there. And you have that. You have the lump sum, and then we broke it down cost per acre. You can see there's various differences. The bottom 3 sections, Atlanta in the southwest corner, you have a 20-acre parcel, Central Pike. You have this lump sum and cost per acre. You have one on Stewart's Ferry Pike. Again, it's quite a bit more acreage. You have cost per acre on it. Then you have 20 acres, which is on Jackson Road, which is right behind Gladwell Middle. So what I've been instructed to do is to continue on. Everybody's got to understand we're on 90 days. We're working on 90 days. If we decide this is one of these pieces of property or 2 that we want to buy, or 3, whatever you want to do, you've got 90 days. So we're going to have to hustle to get some work done, get a little more information, and the board will recommend and decide what they want to bring to the commission for consideration of purchase. Speaking of a campus, the advantage of buying a large tract of land, we figure, can you put 1 school, 2 schools, or 3 schools? when you buy a parcel of land that you can put 3 schools on or 2, you're going to save on infrastructure right out of the gate. You're also going to save on land costs because if you buy now, land does not usually go down. So if you can buy it now for future, you're just getting ahead of the ballgame.
Right.
I really feel like if 2 parcels of land are bought off here, you're probably taking care of your land purchase hopefully for 10 years. And you're already sitting on it and you don't have to worry with that. This is lofty, I know. I acknowledge that. This is thinking big. But there's a lot of advantages. You look around at other growth areas that have had a lot of success building their schools together. And I believe, and I've said this publicly, I'll continue to say it, it's a belief, your community schools are what makes your communities.
Yes.
And we've got to be, I think we've got to be careful of just throwing up schools and not taking into consideration communities. Because once you build a school, and you build one here, and you build one here, and you build one here, you know, one of the first things I did in this area was go find, I want to see the old Legardo School. I just want to see it. That takes me back, tells me there's a community here. And in this area, that is going to be a Legardo community. If you go on that 109, I think that's invaluable. Is that lofty? Yeah, it's lofty. But I think it pays dividends down the road for quality of life established here. But that's where we're at on RFP. We're hoping by January to be able to take something to our board. And it's going to be in their hands how quick they want to. So you possibly, we've got to, if we're going to settle on these 90 days, we've got to be done here in February. See if we can get some purpose.
Because I know I had started receiving calls and you said you hadn't even got to the point where people already think that they are, so.
You know, and I understand that. And everybody's got a concern of a voice. And I think anybody would have a concern of a voice. But we need to listen to them. And I'm sure our board's going to listen to them and take into consideration. But with all this population, you've got to have schools somewhere. And one thing, I'll just say it, I would love to have found something on 109, driveway off 109. It'd been great. Didn't happen. There's a reason it didn't happen. That land's very, very valuable. I'm expecting, I told somebody the other day, the first warm day, March, you're liable to see flags popping all up along 109. These developers are here, but they're watching it.
Well, they sure are. That's
So,
a fact.
And when they do, we're going to have a school. That's what I've got.
Site prep.
Huh?
Be real close on your site prep. That's what it gets.
That's a big part. And we're going to hopefully find that in essence. But everybody's got to understand on that. You got to be careful not doing too much, spending too much money. It's a fine line. And until you turn that dirt sometimes, you don't know what it's going to cost.
Right.
I mean, but I think we are good enough and have built enough that we can get pretty close and see some estimates. All of this land, I've not been to every site. I will be at every site in the next few days. I've been to 2 or 3. All of them, by the eye, look very buildable. I don't see mountains and I don't see... So we've got to get in there and see what it looks like.
So this shouldn't be coming back to us until possibly tomorrow, February, end of February, 1st of March?
It needs got to come in February because you got 90 days. We open them November 30th.
Gotcha. Are there any further questions? Going once, twice. Need the next thing. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.